Alright, it's the Gremlin Gamer here. Gremlin with the Gremlin Gamer. And today we're going to take a little break from Borderlands and do some Skyrim. So I had mentioned before I wanted to do some Skyrim videos. And I figured the best way to do this is to just start from scratch, start a whole new character. That way I can kind of get into the easiest way to kind of just get into this game. Because admittedly, even my first time playing, I didn't really grasp how the game worked. And so I struggled for a bit trying to figure out how to get stronger, how to get more money, how to do all kinds of things. And it was a little bit of trial and error. Also had the benefit of a strategy guide eventually. But the idea of this video is to kind of spare you that trouble by giving you basically quickest things you can do early game to improve your situation. Because realistically, usually by the time you hit level 10,
finally awake.
You can become
you were trying to cross the
reasonably
border,
powerful.
Right? Walked right into that Imperial ambush.
That's kind of the fun part of Skyrim, is it really lets you take the whole power fantasy.
Skyrim was fine until you came along.
To the next level, because you may start off with nothing. You literally have no weapons, no armor, no nothing, and before long you'll suddenly realize, wow, I've got a house, I've got all kinds of loot, I'm actually powerful in a fight,
and sisters in binds
and it's just a lot of fun, and it just gets better, especially once you really figure out the systems in the game.
Watch your tongue. You're speaking to Ulfric Stormcloak.
So in the past, I have built
Ulfric, the Jarl of Windhelm?
A Khajiit. I've actually had two Khajiits. One was a kind of just classic stealth character.
Where are they taking us?
And then I built another one that was actually a hybrid. She was a wizard, a stealth wizard, a ninja wizard.
This can't be happening. This isn't happening.
So I'm going to get into that here briefly.
What village are you
once
from,
we get through the intro here and we can choose our race. And I'll do a brief overview of the different races, because there are pros and cons to each race, and depending on the type of playstyle you're going for, will depend on the race you choose. Now that said, you can play any race you want and go for any build you want. But certain races just seem to work better for certain builds for obvious reasons. Some of this comes down to one of three things. Each race has what I describe as a trait,
and it looks like the Thalmor are with them. Damn elves.
Affinities, and a unique skill. So the trait is usually something that's just a constant passive buff of some sort. In the case of like the Khajiit, they always do an additional 10 points of damage unarmed because of their claws. The trait, say for high elves, is they initially have an extra 25 points of mana by default. That's almost 5 levels worth of mana just right out the gate that they get by default. Other passives would be, in the case of say wood elves, they have immunity to poisons. Argonians have disease.
Why are we stopping?
Nords have a higher resistance to cold damage and cold magic. And so we'll go over those differences. And then there's the affinities. The affinities have to do with the various skills that you have access to. There's a bunch of different skill trees that you have access to no matter what class you decide to build.
This is a mistake.
And this puts you in a situation where, oh, I'm sorry, I got distracted with the affinities. So you usually have a certain amount of affinity with all of these skills, but certain certain races have higher affinities for certain things. So, for example, your Khajiit have a higher affinity for alchemy and stealth.
No, I'm not a rebel. You can't do this. Halt! You're not gonna kill me.
They have various different affinities where basically they start out stronger in that particular skill tree.
Step forward.
So it makes it easier to level up that skill tree and basically get better at that skill by default. Alright, so here we have the Nords. citizens of Skyrim. They are tall, fair-haired, strong, and hardy. Nords are famous for the resistance to cold and their talent as warriors. They can use the battle cry to make opponents flee. So there's the skill. So their passive is the resistance to cold, which is especially useful if you're playing a fighter class, because cold damage saps your stamina, which is vital for you to be able to fight. It also slows you down, and you do take damage from it as well. So Nords make good fighters because of that. If they're in a situation against magic users that are using ice magic, they are not going to be hindered by that. I forgot what their affinities were. Most likely heavy armor and two-handed weapons. Those are the things they have a higher advantage in. So I wish these were actually more by race. I mean, because basically you have 9 races to choose from. You have 3 human races, 3 elf races, and then the animal races, as I refer to them, which would be the Khajiit, the orcs, and the Argonians. But I guess we'll just do this in the order that it has here. So next we have the orcs. Now these guys are of the 3 animal races, look more human than animal, although they look like they're crossed with a wild boar or something. So the people of Wuthgrian and the Dragontail Mountains, orcish smiths are prized for their craftsmanship. Orc troops in heavy armor are among the finest in the Empire and are fearsome when using their berserk rage. So this gives us a hint too to their affinities. So orcs have high affinity for blacksmithing, which is really good if you're playing a warrior type character because you're really dependent on your armor and your weapons, especially your armor, to keep you alive. And having the leg up in smithing definitely makes that important. Orcs, their unique ability is their berserker rage. So if I remember right, for roughly a minute or 2 minutes, you gain damage resistance and your stamina slowly, constantly, or basically increase speed on your stamina regeneration. So that you basically can kind of just go full out berserk, full offensive. The Nords I meant to mention on too, their unique skill is their battle cry. Now with most of the various races, their unique skill can only be used once a day in game time. So, you know, in-game time being 12 or 24 hours in-game. But of course time moves faster in the game than it does in real time. So, you know, even just going and sleeping for 8 hours will pass forward time and make it your skill available again. Same thing with the orcs, berserker rage. They can only use that once in-game every 24 hours. I don't remember what their passive is here, and it doesn't really state it, which is kind of funny. I'll have to look that up. So next we have the next human race, which are the Redguard. Most naturally talented warriors in Tamriel, the Redguards in Hammerfell are a hardy constitution and a natural resistance to poison. They call upon the adrenaline rush in combat. So these guys are similar to the orcs, where they kind of just basically, I think they get same thing where they just get increased goodness, just completely blanked out, stamina. They get an increase to their stamina for a short period of time. I haven't played this in a while, so I didn't realize that their passive was a resistance to poison, which honestly is not that big of a deal in this game because for the most part poison in most situations is weak. The exception to the rule being some of the potions and poisons you can create yourself if you really try to level up alchemy, but most of the poisons your character is going to encounter in-game, they shrug off pretty easily, so it sounds like it would be useful, but it's not that great. So these guys, I do remember, I think they had an affinity for single-handed weapons and light armor. These guys typically are more of your mobile fighters, usually dual wielding, instead of, you know, relying on shields and heavy armor. Next, we have the Wood Elf, clan of the Western Valen Woods Forest, also known as Bosmer. Wood Elves make good scouts and thieves, and there are no finer archers in all of Tamriel. They have a natural resistance to both poison and disease. They can command animals to fight for them. So, on paper, the Wood Elves actually sound pretty damn cool. Once again, the resistance to poison, not quite as useful. The resistance to disease actually kind of is, and I'll get more into detail on that here shortly. But they do have a high affinity for bows and stealth, which is pretty handy. The ability to call animals in to help them fight sounds great, and the problem is that in most situations where you're going to need assistance, you're very likely going to be either in a cave or a dungeon, and there's usually no animals there to help you, except for maybe some of the rats. But typically, this is something that usually is more useful when you're out in the wild open. And unless you're being attacked by a dragon, you usually don't get too hard pressed. But I'm not sure how much a wolf or a bear is going to help you against, and then that's the other thing too, is there actually has to be some animals nearby to help. I never really tried this because I actually have not built a Wood Elf character just yet. But from what I remember reading from some people, it's just kind of doesn't work that well because you usually don't find yourself in too many situations where you can actually use it. So next, we're going to go back up. It's my personal favorite, the Khajiit. So hailing from the province of Elsweyr, they are intelligent, quick, and agile. They make excellent thieves due to their natural stealthiness. All Khajiit can see in the dark at will and have unarmed claw attacks. So, once again, these guys have a high affinity for stealth. They actually have a pretty decent affinity for archery as well, and alchemy. They have a really cool passive, which once again is that they have unarmed claw attacks. So there's only a few occasions in the game where this is usually useful. Although if you really wanted to play a true Khajiit up to the lore in Elder Scrolls lore, for the most part, Khajiit don't really like using weapons. They actually prefer to fight with their claws and more like a wild animal than using swords and bows and so on. And you can totally do this, especially if you really want to run with. There's actually a enchantment you'll get eventually on the gauntlets that basically increases your unarmed damage when you're wearing those gauntlets. And of course, by learning that enchantment and beefing it up, you can increase that damage output even more. Then there's also a skill in the heavy armor tree we'll look at here in a little bit that also increases damage done when you're basically wearing heavy gauntlets and using unarmed attacks. So this gives you the chance to really go with the whole unarmed Khajiit thing if you really wanted to. The downside is there's no actual skill tree for unarmed combat, so you don't really have any way to add to your arsenal of attacks or abilities or increase your strength beyond a certain point, where with swords, two-handed weapons, bows, there are actually skill trees for those that actually help you get better and give you different unique skills tied to those. Maybe Bethesda will catch on to this in the next installment and add a tree for unarmed combat. It would be pretty cool, especially for those of us that want to go for kind of a classic monk-style character. Anyways, the other cool thing about the Khajiit is their skill. Unlike most of the other skills the races have where they can only use it once every 24 hours in-game, the Khajiit can use their ability to see in the dark anytime. It usually only stays active for about 30 seconds and you have to turn it back on. But especially if you're going for a stealth character, this is incredibly useful. The reason being is that you're going to find yourself in a lot of dark environments in this game. A lot of dungeons and caves have a lot of dark spots. And that in itself is not really a big issue, except for the fact that it can hide the presence of enemies, it can hide traps, or treasure. And you do have the option of learning the spell to create a light orb, or you can even have just a good old trusty torch in your hand. The only problem is this will alert enemies to your presence if they see that light. Obviously, if you're going for a stealth character, you don't want to alert your enemies. You want them to not know you're there at all. And being able to see in the dark is the best way to do that, because now you're able to see any hidden enemies, and they're hidden by darkness, any traps hidden by the darkness, any treasures that you might have missed, and you're not giving away your location. I can't tell you how useful this is until you actually, I mean, it's just you have to see it in action. And the fact that you can use it at will anytime you want is amazing. Next, we have the Imperial. Now, the Imperials are usually the choice of most folks. They're looking for a human magic user. So natives of Cyrodiil, they have proved to be shrewd diplomats and traders. They are skilled with combat and magic. Anywhere gold coins might be found, Imperials always seem to find a few more. They can call upon the voice of the Emperor to calm an enemy. So these guys are kind of interesting. They have affinities for magic, and they also have affinity for speech. Speech is a unique skill that you'll use throughout the game, various interactions, and depending on how good you are at speech, you can find yourself in situations where you can get the upper hand by either using charisma or threats to get what you want. But based on your skill, it'll be successful or not. And Imperials have a little bit more gusto with that. The other thing is they have a passive ability that actually makes them more resistant to magic. For the most part, you don't usually have to worry too much about being brainwashed by enemies, but you do have, taking damage from fire, lightning, and so on. Not sure how much resistance you really get from that. I have to look it up, but there is that. But basically, this is kind of the go-to for people looking to do a human mage, which takes us to our Mage of Mages. So next is the High Elf, also known as Altmer in their homeland of Somerset Isle. The High Elves are the most strongly gifted in the arcane arts of all the races. They can call upon their highborn power to regenerate magic quickly. These guys, this is the race you want to play if you're wanting to be the ultimate magic user. As I mentioned earlier, their passive is that they gain an additional, right out the gate, 25 points of mana. This is really useful because it allows you to cast more spells, low-level spells, before depleting your mana reserves. It also lets you cast some higher-level spells that you wouldn't be able to if you were a lower level of a different race, because higher level spells use more mana, and sometimes you can have spells that actually cost more mana than you actually have in your mana pool. That said, the other unique thing about these guys is that their skill is similar to the Berserk, only instead of regenerating stamina, you're regenerating your mana. Once again, the skill can only be used once a day in game time. And it can be very useful, especially when you're so dependent on your magic attacks. That said, once again, there's a lot of different magic to use in this game, and there's a lot of different ways to build a good magic character. And they can be incredibly overpowered in certain situations. And they're a lot of fun to play. And you can really build a magic user out of any character you want, but if you're really wanting to maximize it and just kind of be a badass with it, the High Elf is easily the best way to go. So next we have the Dark Elves, also known as Dunmar in their homeland of Morrowind. Dark Elves are noted for their stealth and magic skills. They're naturally resistant to fire and can call upon their ancestors' wrath to surround themselves with fire. These guys are kind of interesting. They are loosely based on the Dungeons and Dragons Dark Elves, although these guys are not subterranean. But the fact that they are kind of a combination of magic and stealth. So they have affinities for magic, they have affinities for stealth, they have a natural resistance to fire, which is very useful because a lot of magic users in this game like to use fire, and fire can mess you up quick. Of the three magic types for doing damage, fire is the most damaging. Its main focus is simply to do damage, where ice magic it's kind of dividing its damage between damage and lowering an enemy's stamina, and electrical attacks splitting their damage between doing damage and sapping an enemy's mana. But fire is doing all of its damage entirely towards your health. And their skill that they can use once a day is an ability to create almost kind of like a fire nova around themselves, basically causing any enemies close to you to catch on fire. I've only actually played a Dark Elf in the previous game. I haven't played a Dark Elf in Skyrim yet, but they're very similar to the previous game as far as their skills and passives. And once again, if you're kind of wanting to do a stealth magic user, they're actually a pretty good option for that. Next is the Breton. So in addition to their quick perceptive grasp of spellcraft, even the humblest of High Rock's Bretons can boost the resistance. Okay, I got these guys confused with the Imperial. Alright, so these guys have the resistance. It's the Imperial. What is their passive? Maybe it is they get more money or something when they come across money. I'm not sure. But yeah, I got them confused with the Breton. So the Breton is more of your human magic user. So let's see. Humblest boasts resistance to magic. Bretons can call upon the Dragonskin power to absorb spells. Okay, so yeah, I didn't really even realize they had it. So they have a unique ability that for a short period of time allows them to absorb enemy spells. And to be perfectly honest with you, some of the most dangerous enemies in this game will be magic users, especially if you're playing a physical fighter of some sort, but even another mage, because they'll be hitting you with lightning. And the difference between magic use and using weapons in this game is that even if your stamina is completely depleted, you can still attack. You just can't use power attacks and you can't run. But if your mana is completely depleted, you are completely helpless. You can't attack at all other than with your fists. Or pulling out a weapon and using that to defend yourself until you can get your mana to restore. So, that said, where I was going with this is, once again, when you're fighting other magic users, especially when they're hitting you with lightning, this is a very useful skill to give you the upper hand in a situation like that. Next is the class we're going with. This is the reptilian race, well suited for the treacherous swamps of their Black Marsh homeland, have developed a natural resistance to diseases and the ability to breathe underwater. They can call upon the hit skin to regenerate health very quickly. So these guys are kind of a big mix of everything. They first off have the really cool passive of being able to breathe underwater. Now there's only a few points in the game where this is a necessary or extremely useful skill. That said, it's also like some of the other passive skills in this game you can kind of acquire by using enchantments. So you will come across a necklace with an enchantment that does give you the ability to breathe underwater, and that enchantment can be learned and be applied. It only works on necklaces and helmets, headpieces. But you can basically make any character able to breathe underwater if you want. It's more fun than anything, just for exploratory reasons. There are a couple of occasions, like I mentioned in the game, where it is a useful skill that can keep you from getting killed because of some unique situations. But otherwise, it's just something for fun. Once again, the resistance to disease is another nifty one to have. Most diseases are more of an annoyance, like there's one that you can get from the rat enemies that causes you to, I think you just slowly lose stamina, or you use dramatically more stamina to do attacks, so your stamina gets, knocked out really fast, and it kind of slows your moving. But then there's more messed up diseases like vampirism, because you can actually become a vampire in this game if you don't want to, if you're not paying attention. Usually the game will give you hints that you've been afflicted with vampirism, and you have you have a chance to use a potion to remove it, or to go pray to an altar to remove the disease before you officially become full-blown vampire. Or, yeah, we'll get into more detail on that later. So anyways, we're going to go with our Argonian. And should I go male or female? I think I'm going to go male this time. Go through the presets real quick just to get horny toad. Yeah, I kind of think I like him. Yeah, let's have us a beefy Argonian. Huh. Didn't realize he was wearing war paint. Yeah, let's not have that. So what should we name him? Need something funky. What would be a good Arganian name? Lizard name. I think I'm gonna use the character name for my story. Winslow.
Are you a relative of one of the Riften dockworkers, Agonian? Captain, what should we do? He's not on the list.
Forget the list. He goes to the block.
By your orders, Captain. I'm sorry. We'll make sure your remains are returned to Blackmarsh. Follow the captain, prisoner.
Oh, they do you dirty. They do you so dirty. This is why I never actually pursued the Civil War part of the story in this game.
Some here in Helgen call
Even
you
though
a
the
hero,
Empire screwed
but
me
a
over
hero
here,
doesn't use a power like the Voice to murder his king and
when you
usurp
start
his
kind of
throne.
digging into it, the rebels are not much better.
You started this war, plunged Skyrim into chaos, and now the Empire is going to put you down and restore the peace.
What was that?
It's nothing. Carry on.
Yes, General Tullius. Give them their last rites.
As we commend your souls to Aetherius, blessings of the 8 divines upon you.
For the love of Talos, shut up and let's get this over.
Learn our... As you wish.
Come on! I haven't got all morning. My ancestors are smiling at me, Imperials. Can you say the same?
You Imperial bastards!
Justice!
Death to the Stormcloaks!
As fearless in death as he was in life.
Next, the lizard!
There it is again. Did you hear that?
I said, next prisoner!
To the block, prisoner. Nice and easy.
What in oblivion is that?
Sentries, what do you see?
It's in the clouds!
Dragon!
Guards, get the townspeople to...
Get out! Come on, the guards won't give us another chance! This way!
Well, I was hoping to steal some armor or something.
Jarl Ulfric, what is that thing? Could the legends be true?
Legends don't burn down villages.
We need to move, now! Up through the tower. Let's go!
We just need to move.
See the inn on the other side? Jump through the roof and keep going. We'll follow when we can.
Oh. Alright, so here's this.
You need to get over here! Now! That boy, you're doing great! Torol! God! Everyone get back! Still alive, prisoner? Keep close to me if you want to stay that way. Gunnar, take care of the boy. I have to find General Tullius and join the defense.
Gods guide you, Hadvar.
Stay close to the wall!
I don't remember all this the last time
Quickly, follow me!
I was following the rebel guy. How did I end up behind this dude? Oh, shit. My hands weren't tied just then, so what happened?
It's you and me, prisoner! Stay close!
Nothing kills it! How does it move so damn fast?
Raylo, you damn traitor! Out of my way!
We're escaping, Hadvar. You're not stopping us this time.
Fine! I hope that ready takes you all to Sovngarde!
You, come on! Into the keep!
With me, prisoner! Let's go!
Alright.
We'll meet again in Sovngarde, brother. Looks like we're the only ones who made it. That thing was a dragon, no doubt. Just like the children's stories and the legends. The harbingers of the end times. We better get moving. Come here. Let me see if I can get those bindings off. There you go. You may as well take Gunnar's gear. He won't be needing it anymore.
Alright, so here's how you get stuff. Sadly, looting corpses for one. So we're gonna get his axe. Now, even though that's not would have been my choice, for the most part, because I'm going to be going for, well, this is light armor, but I'm probably going to prefer a sword to an axe, or definitely a bow. But at this point, we just need a weapon and we need some armor.
Alright, get
Alright,
that
so
armor on, and give that axe a
another
few
little
swings.
quick thing
I'm
to
going
go over
see if
real
I can
quick
find
is
some way out
the
of here.
menu. So I prefer to
sounds
play in
locked.
first person
Let's
most
see
of the
about that
time.
gate.
When I'm fighting though, especially hand to hand with weapons, I do tend to prefer to go into third person.
Damn, no way to open
Just makes
this
it
from
easier
outside.
to see what you're doing. So on the PlayStation version, you got your right hand and you got your left hand that you usually guard with.
Imperial
Don't let those stormcloaks get away! We are
Maybe one of these Imperials had the key.
Alright, so here's a good way to get some more gear. So, is this armor better than what I got? Armor 23. Yeah, better armor. Got me a sword, I prefer that, and a dagger, so we can dual wield, I think. Pretty sure I can do that now. Yeah, so we can put that in our left hand. realistically, I guess we could do the axe. Why not? And go for maximum damage. Alright, so the fur boots. We're gonna go up to the Imperial boots. Light bracers, which we didn't even have. I wasn't even wearing headgear, so I got me a helmet now. There we go. So as you can see, just with that, I've already been able to improve my situation quite a bit.
Let's see here. Here we are. Found.
Ooh. Well, I think that's the same as what I've currently got. Oh, but that helmet's better. So are those boots. So are those bracers. Alright, we'll take these just to sell. So as you can see also, we have our carry weight. We have a maximum weight of 300 pounds. We're currently carrying 109. So this is something you do have to keep an eye on as you play the game, because much like Borderlands, this game will make you a hoarder. You can carry a lot more in this game, admittedly, and stash a lot more in this game. But that said, you will find yourselves in situations where you will have your weight kind of being exceeded, especially once you start collecting a lot of potions and other things, and extra weapons, extra armor, on top of the stuff that you find. Every time you level up and you increase your health, that does increase your carry weight and stamina. Or is it? No, it's your stamina. Every time you increase your stamina, you increase your carry weight. And there's other ways to get around this. There's actually cool enchantments you can put on boots that will increase your carry weight. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you need some extra weight capacity, you can simply have those boots stashed, throw them on, and get an extra pound. Usually I think it's max extra 40 pounds of carry capacity.
Key. Let's see if it opens that door.
Alright, so to get into the menu is circle, go into items. Let's see, we get 2 Imperial swords, so that was the same. They're 9 damage, the axe is 9 damage, but it's a weight of 11 versus 10. So we'll do 2 swords at the same time, because that little bit of added weight is going to make this weapon a little bit slower. Typically in this game, your bladed weapons come in 3 different types. You have swords, axes, and then usually bludgeons. Good lord. The big ones are warhammers, but anyways, swords are usually the fastest and do good damage. Axes usually do a little bit more damage, but are slower. And they have a chance of doing bleed damage once you unlock that skill. And then the bludgeons usually are the slowest, but have the highest damage and have a chance of ignoring enemy armor. Daggers get a unique skill bonus, usually for stealth, but typically you gotta unlock that skill. So, apparel wise, let's see what we got. Imperial boots, Imperial light boots, armor 7 and 2, 11 and 8. Imperial armor 2735. Yeah, that's still better than what we got, so it's a good thing to grab that. She was an officer, so she had really good armor. Imperial armor, Imperial boots, Imperial bracers. Yeah, I had the light bracers. Yeah, so these are heavy armor. Didn't really want to run with heavy armor, but since I'm basically level 0, it's probably better to go with that added weight right now. Light boots, light bracers, because typically when you're playing the stealth character, which is what I'm likely going to be doing with this guy, you usually want to go with light armor, because light armor is not as heavy, you move faster, and you're able to be stealthy. If you try to sneak in heavy armor, you really can't. You will give yourself away because it makes noise. You have to be wearing light armor or robes to make use of sneaking. So let's see, Imperial Light Helmet, Officer's Helmet, yeah. Alright, so we are rocking maximum armor and weapons, and we got some stuff to sell once we get the opportunity. Looking like a serious badass here.
Come on, let's get out of here before the dragon brings the whole tower down on our heads.
So I went from
Let's
being naked to that. So now we're going back into first person mode. Oh no, they're naked. Yes, this game is not right. And if you hold the search button, you can actually grab things in this game, including corpses.
Keep moving. Come on, this way.
You can pretty much pick up any object in this game and move it around.
Let's keep moving.
And just hit it again to let go. Yes,
keep
I'm
moving.
a weirdo. Why is she heavier than him?
Let's go.
Okay, he's impatient, so let's move on.
Let's keep moving.
I gotta remember I'm trying to be instructional with this video and not just have fun. Oh, and I kind of missed what I was saying earlier. So my character's current
That dragon doesn't give up easy.
skill
Grab
that you can use on stage, they're able to rapidly heal themselves.
To the ground.
This is admittedly
potions.
probably one of the other actually really useful skills.
The prisoners are escaping.
I've suffered worse during training. Enough! A pox on the Empire!
A storeroom. See if you can find any potions. We'll need them.
Some more studded armor, like, so let's see what the value, 10, 23. So I usually go for the things with the highest value and the lightest weight to sell. Ooh, yeah. And just like Borderlands, there's a lot of looting to be done in this game, and there's things to be found. There's a potion of minor magic. Salt pile. These are essential for pretty much any alchemy, and you will be doing some alchemy in this game. And cooking actually too. Potion of minor healing, yes, very useful. Lets us know there's nothing in there to bother looking for. Here's a barrel. Yes, 3 potions. Magic potion and stamina potion. Awesome. Alright, what else we got up in this place? So yes, you can search the bags. We got some apples to eat. Those will heal you, and you can actually use them to cook with as well. Empty sack. Take those baskets, but we're not going to because we don't need anything in the basket. What's in there? Oh, cabbages. Another potion, some salt. What do we got in here? Eggs. Yes, sir, we'll take those. Alright.
Done?
Yeah.
Let's get moving.
Where did he go?
Troll's blood. It's a torture room. Hear that? Come on.
We are routed.
takes care of that.
Was Jarl Ulfric with you?
No, I haven't seen him since the dragon showed up.
That's nothing real value there. Oh, there we go. This was to my mace.
Wait a second. Looks
So, yeah.
like there's something in this cage. Ah. It's locked. See if you
Oh,
can
wait
get
a minute. He had a steel dagger.
open with some picks. We might need that gold once we get out.
Alright,
Grab
so another
anything
thing you'll be
useful.
doing a lot of in this game is lockpicking. And lockpicking is interesting to say the least. But you'll never run out of, you'll almost always find plenty of lockpicks. So you can kind of keep failing. And the other cool thing is that even just attempting and failing to unlock a lock will increase your lockpicking skill. I'll get more into detail about it, but when you get high level, you actually have the ability to make a skill legendary once you max it out and get all the skill points out of it. A lot of people will do this with lockpicking so that they can basically throw a lot of skill points into lockpicking, make it legendary, get those skill points back to put into other stuff, and then basically rebuild lockpicking all over again. But yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense, probably the way I explained it, but I personally find this to be kind of a fun mini game. It's a little intuitive. It can be a little tricky at times. Ooh, we got us a spell tome, so we can learn some magic, a basic magic, electric magic spell. Some potion, and some gold. Always good to have money. This guy's got this stuff, so we get us a hood. So here's the difference between robes and armor. So if you're playing a magic user, you're basically sacrificing armor, but robes and hoods usually give you, in this case, increased magic by 30 points and increased magic regeneration. Robes are also good to sell. As you can see, the value's high and they don't weigh a lot, so they're not going to be too costly on your inventory. Sorry, Holmes, but you won't be needing those. And I think they also put this in here in case you're deciding to play a magic user, so now you have the option of switching to that. But at this point, honestly, we can go anywhere with this character. So I'm probably going to be doing a bit of a hybrid mix of magic and physical ability, because there's situations where you kind of need a little bit of everything. So we got us a book here. And we're going to go ahead and take it too. And you can actually read those books. Some of them are 4 or 5 pages long. You can actually stash them. And once you get the ability to unlock certain houses, you even can have a library where you can put the books that you found and collected. And go back and read whenever you want. There's some lock picks and another healing potion. Alright, so before we go any further, let's just dig into the menu again, since we've kind of added stuff here. Oh, bam, shield. That's useful. Anything else hiding in here? No. Alright. So, under items now, we have all, which shows you everything. You go into your weapons, it's obviously your weapons. And you can like, so that it will show up our favorite weapons by doing that. And it will kind of put them in a special little quick, easy menu. Then your apparel. So this is basically anything you can wear. So any kind of armor, jewelry, rings, pendants, shields also fall into this category. So anything that you would wear is going to be in this area here. As you can see, most of these things are broken down with armor by defense, weight, and value. Your weapons similarly. Then we have potions. So once again, everything in this game typically has weight. So even your potions are going to take up some of your carry weight. As you can see, we're already up to 178. So we're about halfway to, or a little way past our halfway. So this is where you'd go to find your potions. And you can favorite these as well. Actually, you can favorite anything in these menus. Your food. As you can see there, restores 1 point of health, restores 2 points of health. Usually raw foods like this do minimal amount of improving your health. When you find places where you can cook, these raw ingredients, once you figure out recipes, can be combined to create things that will give you a lot more health and require a lot less space, obviously. And then these are your ingredients. So the ingredients are basically stuff for alchemy. And the trick to alchemy is, in order to basically know what the traits are, basically these are the things that are going to decide what the potion does. In order to get the traits, you have to basically eat the ingredients. And once you do this, you will know what they can do. So we're going to eat one of these rock wobbler eggs. Or no, I dropped it. My bad. I'll have to pick it up. So that one can restore health. So if you make a potion with those, then it's going to be a health restorer. Salt. Weakness to magic. So, and it will show that from there on now. Let's see if we can eat another one, if we'll learn another ability. No. So I think you have to improve your, work your way up the skill tree for alchemy in order to be able to figure out by eating ingredients what traits they have and what they'll do when used in a potion. Books. So any notes or books you find in the game, including spell books, will end up here. And in order to learn a spell, it will consume the book. So it will no longer be in your inventory, but you'll know that spell forever. So we're going to go ahead and learn Sparks. Basically, it's a lightning. It does 8 points of shock damage to health and magic per second. Low level spell, but definitely useful to have if you're fighting against a magic user. But this is a regular book, and this is one that we can actually read. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. Then we have miscellaneous. So miscellaneous is things like your lock picks. Also, once we start finding things that you can use for smithing or enchanting, they'll appear here. So basically, the various different raw metals, metals that have been turned into goodness, why can't I not think of them? Basically blanks, metal that's been processed and it's ready to be turned into finished goods. A lot of other crazy stuff will end up in miscellaneous, but that's pretty much that. So then you have magic. So this is where you can see your magic. You can also see some other things. So all just shows you everything. So as right now, by default, apparently already knew some spells. I knew flames. So this is similar to the spell we just learned, only it's fire instead of electricity. We know healing. And then this is our actual inborn skill here that hits skin. And we're going to have that active. And then sparks. Now, your magic is broken up into some different categories, and we're not seeing all of them just yet because I haven't found certain ones just yet. But right now we have destruction magic. This is kind of your classic black mage spells: fire, lightning, and ice. All of these spells in this family of magic are based on doing damage, the maximum damage. Restoration, then, obviously this skill tree is all about spells that are for healing. Powers. Okay, so powers would be basically your character's race, skill, ability. Once you get figured out that you're the oh Lord, the chosen one, I guess, because I can't think of the real the Dragonborn. There we go. And you learn how to do shouts. Your shouts will be, I think, listed under powers as well. Active effects. Now this is useful. This shows your natural skills. So once again, we have a resistance to disease. Your Argonian blood is 50% resistant to disease. Able to breathe underwater. Target is 2% weaker to magic attacks for 30 seconds.